Truth or Politics. I'm your host, Darlene Price, and tonight we're going to try to cover a couple of topics. One we're going to cover is DOGE, or DOGE, depending on how you pronounce it, the Department of Government Efficiency with Elon Musk. And we're also going to cover, I've been posting about this and covering this, the officer-involved shooting in London, Kentucky. And yes, we have our little jackass award here again that we're going to talk about tonight. But anyway, before we get started, we want to say special thanks to all of our listeners and watchers. We appreciate you guys and our new people. We got some new listeners again joining us from Pulaski County and some new listeners from London, Kentucky. We appreciate you joining us tonight. And we want to thank MBR TV, MBR Television, Steve Hall, our hero over there, for keeping us on television locally here for almost 15 years, over 14 years now. We appreciate them for doing that. So welcome, 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 and let's get started. The Sherlock Holmes, you know, the show Sherlock Holmes, about that character, he used to say, follow the money. It was also that quote was made famous from a movie called All the President's Men. It's about Watergate. For all the young people out there, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Okay, but All the President's Men was an Oscar-winning movie, and it really went in through details of how they followed the money, and they followed through money laundering and through campaign finance reform, campaign financing criminals and everything else. They found out all the stuff that led to Richard Nixon resigning. So this kind of reminds me of this, okay? Let's talk about it. DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. This is Elon Musk, this multi-billionaire that Trump has brought in to do basically what the IG has been doing for years, or tried to do for years. And we started talking about this before DOGE ever got invented, before Trump took over office and everything else. All the way back in, I think it was August, remember, last year, we were talking about, and I said, I'm going to start every show with this because it really just irked me, that the Pentagon is missing $800 billion. And I said, and in fact, I think we awarded the Jackass Award, our little Jackass Award, to the idiots at the Pentagon, because they can't account for $800 billion. Folks, that's not chump change, okay? And we talked about this in the Office of Inspector General, okay? Every federal government has an office, every government entity has an Office of Inspector General. They found this out, and they've been doing inspections on, you know, the Pentagon for years. And the last 7 inspections the IG has done on the Pentagon, they have flunked miserably, okay? So I promised I was going to start off every show with that, and it's apropos here because we're talking about government inefficiency and government efficiency. Now, I want to start off too by saying, as we sit here today, folks, our national debt, which we're having to pay interest on, okay, a lot of interest, is $37 trillion. Let me repeat that. Our U.S. national debt. This country is in debt. And a huge part of our tax dollars are going to the debt and the interest. Can you imagine what the interest is on $37 trillion? Okay, so, you know, this money that Elon Musk and DOGE is discovering, we don't have it. We don't have this money to send out to all these other countries and to some of the absolute crap that our government has been doing. And oh, by the way, you know, it's not just this past administration. This stuff's been going on for years. And I'm going to get into this when it really started. But first, I want to go into this national debt for a little bit. Okay, because I think it's important for us to know who owns this debt. I've been struggling with a throat thing for a while, so bear with me. Okay, first off, our largest owners of our national debt, number one is Japan. $1.1 trillion Japan owns of our debt. That's not so bad. They're friends of ours and everything. We're us in Japan, we're good. Here's what worries me. China, communist China. We used to call them that all the time. This is a communist country. China. 768.6 billion. $768.6 billion of our debt. Just under $1 trillion, not far from $1 trillion. But keep in mind, with interest. We owe them interest. Communist China. United Kingdom. 765.6 billion. Luxembourg, 424.5 billion, and the rest is the Cayman Islands. Folks, we don't have, people say, there's children starving in East Zimbabwe or whatever. We need to be doing these humanitarian things here and there. The argument I have with that, and I know I'm going to take some heat for this, but we got people starving here. We have veterans that we're not taking care of. We have veterans that are not getting the care they need. They're getting denied care, and all this money that they're identifying, and I'm going to get into some of these, okay? We're going to get into some of these. We don't have this money to spend. Every dollar that we go above the budget, we're paying interest on, and it's going towards this national debt, which again is $37 trillion. Okay, so let's take a walk down memory lane. Before DOGE, for years, we've had, since 1976, in fact, we've had the Office of Inspector General. This is the oversight of the government, way before DOGE. They were the forefront of the national efforts to fight waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, and improve the efficiency of the government, of over 1,000 departments in the government, okay? The government has thousands and thousands of departments. The Department of Justice has its own OIG. The Department of Treasury has its own OIG. These are a lot of money being pumped into the Office of Inspector General. The OIG, in just the Department of Justice alone, has 6 divisions and only a couple of hundred special agents. Now, let me repeat that. The OIG, just in the Department of Justice, has 6 divisions, only a couple of hundred special agents. People say, well, that sounds like a lot of special agents. No, it ain't. Not for the corruption that the Department of Justice has been dabbling in for years. It's really not. And all the things, the corruption that the Department of Justice is supposed to investigate. The majority of the agency's resources, the OIG, the majority of the resources go towards oversight of Medicare and Medicaid programs that represent a significant part of the federal budget. And that affects this country's most vulnerable citizens. And the OIG's fiscal year 2025 budget requests a total of $499.7 million to provide oversight of HHS programs. This amount is $67.2 million above FY 2023. So that sounds like a lot of money, but to run agencies that are supposed to do investigative work, it's really not. Now, on their website, the Office of Inspector General says, what is their mission? It says, our special agents have full law enforcement authority and effect a broad range of actions, including the execution of search warrants and arrests. This is not, okay, I'm here to tell you what they say they have the teeth to do and what is reality is 2 different things. This is an untrue statement of what is on their website. And this is, and oh, by the way, for all you Republicans beating your chest saying how great DOGE is, and they're doing some good work, and we'll get into that too. All of this waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption has been going on since Bush-Cheney years. It was under the Bush-Cheney administration that, and the Republican Congress at that time, that they defanged the OIG, who used to do this stuff. I was in the government for years. I was in the military. And people back in the day, a long time ago, I'm very old, used to be scared to death of the OIG. When you had an IG inspection, people were scared to death. At the federal government level, and when I was a special agent, an investigator, you feared them because they had the power and authority to shut you down. They had the power and authority to come in and do a lot more than what DOGE is doing. Now, what happened to that? Well, under Bush and Cheney, let's go down memory lane, under the Republican regime, they put the kibosh on the OIG. Bush Cheney wanted to do an illegal war, basically, in Iraq, which had nothing to do with 9/11. And they falsified documents, they classified documents, they did all kinds of shenanigans, and we covered that back when it was going on. And, you know, they got away with a lot because the OIG was not allowed to do anything. Even when they investigated, if they get too close to something, started snooping around, they pick up the phone, call the buddies at the FBI, and the FBI would come in and say, no, we'll take this. And the FBI has a history of stepping on the Office of Inspector General. Now, I experienced this firsthand. I don't know if you guys remember, but Rick Pitino, the basketball guy over there, you know, there was allegations that he raped Karen Cipher. We investigated a lot of that, and that investigation led into all kinds of corruption with, you know, the former Attorney General, his it was just a nightmare what we uncovered. And I think Jim Fowler's with us tonight, and they went after Jim Fowler big time over that. We went to the OIG with a stack full of evidence, begging the OIG to investigate. The OIG said, wow, yeah, we'll do this. They started investigating. They didn't get a week into their investigation, and the FBI came in, shut them down, took over their investigation, and then and literally a 2-day time period. This was a complicated investigation. Came out and said, nothing to see here. We fully investigated this. Now, the FBI spoke to no witnesses, looked at none of the documents. In less than 48 hours, they said, oh, we fully investigated this, nothing to see here. And the OIG was pushed aside. I witnessed that myself, firsthand. I've got the documents still to back that up, where the FBI came in less than 48 hours and did this. So this has been around for a long time. This waste, fraud, abuse, corruption, stealing the government money. This is not new that this has happened. It's been around for a long time, and it was around even before Bush Cheney. But what Bush Cheney did is, by defanging the Office of Inspector General, which is the precursor for DOGE, if they were allowed to do their job, there would be no need for DOGE. Okay? So, for all the Republicans out there beating their chest, this has gotten so bad, and what DOGE is exposing, a lot of it, and it's jaw-dropping, and it should be, and it should make you angry, is the IG has known about this for years and tried to do something about it. And they're shoved aside. They're not allowed to do their job. They're not allowed to do their job by Congress. A lot of them, they report stuff to Congress, and the Congress buries it. Or the FBI just comes in and takes their investigation, and they're not allowed to do anything. So, you know, let's be clear about where that started. Okay. Make sure I'm going down my list here so I don't forget something. Okay. Okay. One of the things that DOGE is doing very well, and I think it's interesting, is they have a website. And it's, you know, all you have to do is type in doge.gov, http ://doge.gov/savings. Or just type in the Department of Government Efficiency. You can go straight to their website. Their website could have some improvements. It's not the easiest thing to navigate, but what it does is it's showing the documents. It's showing what he's finding in each agency. It's showing how much money, and they're also posting a lot of documents. My favorite thing. Okay, And I want to get into the classification of these documents. What a lot of people are throwing a fit about is President Trump and DOGE are declassifying these documents. Most of these documents should never have been classified in the first place, okay? These documents are made during a process of work that the taxpayers pay for. These documents are not the government documents, they're not the IRS's documents, they're not Social Security's documents, they're not the Department of Treasury, they're not the Pentagon's documents. These documents belong to us. And unless there's some serious national security issue by posting these documents, that you're going to cause World War III, somebody's going to die, something, you're going to expose super secrets that the government has. These documents should not be classified. The overclassification of the public's federal documents started again under Bush and Cheney. Why? Go back, and yeah, there was some of it before them, but a lot of this corruption, and that's what it is. I'm talking the overclassification of documents, shushing the OIG, all of this under Bush and Cheney, because they wanted to start a fake war. So, so Darth Vader Cheney could have Halliburton, could have all the government contracts. Remember all the no bid contracts, okay? And, they just wanted to get away with a fake war and and lose billions and billions of dollars unaccounted for and get away with it. So this cover-up of overclassification of documents, a lot of this stuff started with steroids almost under Bush and Cheney. So, it's great that the Republicans are trying to fix it now, but the part of me says, where you been? That was a long time ago, folks. That was a beat or two, right? So, something's better than nothing. My son always says 60% of something's better than 100% of nothing. At least somebody's doing something now. And we're gonna get into this a little bit, okay? But I think it was important to go through the history of that so people will understand, how do we get here? Why did this happen? Well, that's not the whole answer, but that's a big part of how do we get here to where we're, $37 trillion in debt, and all of this, it's fraud and it's abuse. It is exactly what they're exposing. First off, DOGE has really kind of gone after U.S. aid. And I'm going to get into that for a minute, but I have a problem with going after U.S. aid first. Okay, and I'll tell you why in a minute. USAs have faced the most drastic cuts at $6.5 billion, according to receipts DOGE official websites. And again, the dude's posting these things. So, for people who are saying, DOGE is lying. DOGE is just... they have made a couple of mistakes, and then they corrected them, and they've come out and said, in fact, he even gave a press conference at the White House. Yeah, we screwed that up. We made a mistake. We need oversight too, and they do need oversight, and we're correcting this as we go. But, at least they're in there trying to expose waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. The agent is listed on, we're talking about USAID. This agency is listed first on DOGE's list, the top 10 total control savings, as well as for contract savings as a percentage of budget. So they had a lot of contracts. And here again, here's where a lot of fraud happens. Contracts. These private contractors, okay? And this is where he's got to get over to the Pentagon, because it's going to be the worst. These private contractors, McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, all these military-industrial complex, plus all the contractors for USAID, these contractors also give significant campaign donations to our U.S. congressmen and senators. Now, that used to be illegal. That used to be, at the very least, a conflict of interest. Guess where that got eroded again? It started at the end of Bill Clinton's administration, but campaign finance, which has destroyed this country and allowed this to happen, is these private corporations can buy a congressman and senator, okay? So, and my concern is, is this why he didn't go to the Pentagon first? Because the number one, in my opinion, owner of our U.S. Congress, our U.S. Senator, or U.S. Congressman, is the Pentagon. Okay, so let's go back to this. The Department of Education is listed as the second highest total contract savings of, these are the savings that he's exposing because he's finding some kind of waste, fraud, abuse, or corruption. $502 million in savings. And again, he's posting the receipts, he's posting what he's cutting. And you can argue against whether he should be cutting this stuff or not. And it goes right back to, you know, hey, USAID has sent a lot of money overseas for stuff that we should not, I agree with them, we should not be sending money overseas. Again, this ain't our money. We don't have it. You know, we're borrowing it. We're paying interest. China has some of our debt. That should bother people, a big debt. Okay, so the U.S. Agency of International Development, International Development was also a major focus for DOGE. According to the White House, some of the DEI initiatives funded by USAID included $1.5 million to push DEI in Serbia. You know, sending money to a country that, you know, is not necessarily friendly or been friendly to us. 70 million for DEI music, a musical in Ireland, and 47,000 for a transgender operation in Colombia. Okay, well, you know, folks, here's my argument with these kind of spending, and these are just examples. There's a bunch more. Okay, my mom had a saying: charity starts at home. If you don't take care of your own family first, if your own family and you go bankrupt, how are you going to help anybody else? And folks, we're on the verge of bankruptcy here. We are. You know, $37 trillion ain't chump change. We have people starving here. We have veterans who are not getting the treatment they need. They're not getting the, you know, these, you know, never forget, thank you for your service. Well, thank them for the service. We have literally thousands and thousands every year of veterans committing suicide. It's the highest suicide rate in the nation because they served their country, they went over to these wars, a lot of them we shouldn't even have been in, come back, and they don't get help that we need. Okay, but we're sending money overseas to countries that hate us for things that are questionable when we have people starving here and a $37 trillion debt. So there's the argument. And for my Democrat friends, and anybody who is running for office as a Democrat, to argue against fighting waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption in the federal government, that's a losing argument. You know, I'm pretty liberal. And people who know me that watch the show for 14 years, you know, hey, I believe in climate change real. We got to do something about it. Maybe not go out and buy a Prius, but, you know, something. There's a lot of things I'm extremely liberal about. But fighting waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption in our government when we're misspending billions and billions of dollars that we don't have, and we're going deeper and deeper in debt and paying interest to communist countries, this is not an argument that the Democrats can win. It's a bad one, and it's nonsensical, basically. Okay. Also, what they found out is, here's the one that just blew my mind. They found out that 20.7 million people over the age of 120 years old are receiving Social Security checks. And I don't know how many of them over 300 years old. Folks, in investigative terms, in law enforcement, we would have a term called a smoking gun. This is what you call smoking gun evidence that the government, there's got to be something done, okay? This kind of, obviously this is fraud. Obviously. I don't know anybody who knows anybody over, 120 years old. I don't even know what's the oldest person ever. Somebody Google it and post it. The oldest person ever living in the world probably wasn't 120 years old, much less 130 years old. Checks going out to these people. To argue against fighting this is wrong. we should be backing up DOGE. And yes, they need oversight. Yes. Here's the other thing. Where is the grand jury investigations into this? Okay, so DOGE is finding this. They're putting a stop to it. Why isn't somebody convening criminal grand jury investigations into this stuff, into the Pentagon? Okay, this came out about the Pentagon, $800 billion, almost 6-8 months ago when this came out. Where's the grand jury? And it was the OIG who came out with this, screaming, hey, 800 billion, somebody want to do anything about this? What? And to this date, nobody at the Pentagon's been fired. Well, I guess today somebody was telling me they fired a general today, the head of the Pentagon. Good. I don't care what party he was from. I don't care. Anybody over at the Pentagon with any stars, okay, and you got 800 billion you can't account for, they all should be fired. Every general in the Pentagon should be fired. That ain't chump change. $800 billion, okay? And we, like I said, we awarded the Jackass Award to the generals over at the Pentagon way before DOGE and Trump started this waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption stuff going after it. But my question is, where is the grand jury investigations? Here's where Congress and a lot of these Republican senators and congressmen are beating their chests. Look at us, we're stopping waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Oh, okay. Where's the criminal investigations into this? Why hasn't Congress convened grand juries into this? Somebody needs to be going. $800 billion, you can't find it. It's on $20 million or whatever it is. Checks going to people. Where's the Department of Justice? Somebody needs to be going to prison for this. Follow the money. It just amazes me that, there's been some people finally fired, but somebody needs to go to jail. Steal a weed eater and you go to prison. Steal, if you're going to steal billions and steal it from the Pentagon because, nothing's going to happen to you. Okay, a lot's been said about Elon Musk not having a proper security clearance. Well, that's just bullcrap. Elon Musk, like him or not, has one of the highest security clearances you can have. He is one of the biggest government contractors, which is why he needs to have oversight. The OIG needs to be overseeing him too, because there is a built-in chance of a conflict of interest with Elon Musk and DOGE, him being the head of DOGE. I'm not saying he needs to stop doing what he's doing, but he needs oversight too. He needs transparency. Somebody needs to be really, and it looks like the IG is doing that, as long as somebody gives them their teeth back. And part of the transparency, I will say this, is he's posting these documents. But he's had one of the highest level security clearances of anybody for a long time. So that argument, well, he doesn't possess the proper security clearance. Yeah, he does. I have one of the highest security clearances you could have in the federal government, and his clearance is higher. And I was allowed to go in and pull people's social security numbers or anything else, IRS documents. That's the clearance I had as a special agent. Elon Musk has a security clearance, a very high security clearance. And you can bet the people on his team, these investigators, by the way, some of them are IRS special agents on the DOGE team. I mean, that's who he needs to have on there anyway, the bean counters, the people who know how to audit. These auditors, investigators, these are special agents within the government. They have this security clearance. So that's a losing argument too. Okay, so, and I guess it was yesterday, Michael Mann, maybe yesterday or this morning, Elon Musk sent out an email to federal workers, and it says, list 5 things that you've done in the past month or the past week or whatever. Detail your work of what you've done. Okay? Now, and people are throwing a fit that he's asked it. If you can't, folks, if you're getting a good-sized check from the federal government and you can't list 5 things that you've accomplished, you need to be fired. That sounds mean, I know, but come on. You you've got to, and there's nothing wrong with him asking that. Now, the other reason he was asking that is he also, if you remember, he took over Twitter. One of the things he found that the people on Twitter is they weren't checking their emails. And one of the ways you find out if somebody's checking their emails, which he requires, and which you should be required to do as a federal government employee, if you've got an email system, and that's how, you know, you're communicating, you're sending reports and everything else, and you're not checking your email, you ain't doing your job. So if he sends this out and he says you got till midnight to send back 5 things, and you don't send back 5 things, then guess what? Perhaps you're not checking your email. That's a red flag. That person should be, somebody needs to be asking, you know, why you can't list 5 things, and when was the last time you checked your email? So that's one of the reasons he did that too. Okay, so also, the other check and balance system is federal judges. And it's good. You know, I know the Republicans are throwing a fit because people are coming in and saying, hey, let's run this past the federal judge. Let's make sure he's not violating any laws or anything. You know, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think federal judges, again, DOGE needs oversight too. I don't have a problem with federal judges reviewing what he's doing. And so far, there's no federal judge has issued an order of any kind that demonstrate that jobs cuts are causing any harm. Now, a couple of judges that says, hold up for a minute, let's put the brakes on this for a few minutes until we look at this and see what he's doing. But there's no order that's come out, which is an order. What an order is that's when a judge says, aha, you know, this is bad. I'm going to make an order. You know, he can't do this. Here's the law. No order has happened like that. So far so good. But you know, I know the Republicans are throwing a fit that people are taking some of what he's doing, a lot of what he's doing, and running it past federal judges. By the way, a lot of these judges are Republican judges. These are Republican appointed judges. So, you know, they do need to have some oversight. You know, you can't get too much oversight and checks and balances in the federal government. That's what's been missing. That's why all this jaw-dropping stuff is coming out, is the lack of transparency and the lack of oversight in the federal government for years. Not just the past administration, but all the way back, probably even before Bush and Cheney. Okay, so some of the lawsuits that's filed, and that's how they're getting in front of federal judge. They're filing lawsuits. The lawsuits thus far focused on Privacy Act issues or questioning whether Elon Musk or DOGE has the authority because Musk is not Senate approved. Thus far, judges, even Democratic appointed ones, let me repeat that. So far, even Democrat appointed judges are saying that it doesn't matter. They're saying that Musk is acting as an advisor to the president, who then takes the action, which the courts have recognized under the ruling of what's called stare decisis. What is stare decisis? Well, stare decisis is a legal term. It's Latin for what's already happened before and approved. We got to stay with that. In the legal world, that's what you do. You know, a lot of these cases have already been decided. We don't want to stray from what has already been decided. Concerns. Okay. My concerns. Oversight. Yes, DOGE needs oversight. The OIG needs its teeth back. I've been saying this on this show for years. People who've watched this show for years know that I've been talking about the OIG not being funded correctly, not having their teeth, not being able to do what they need to do, and the FBI interfering with OIG investigations. I've been talking about that for years. So Trump needs to give OIG its teeth back so they can do their job. The job that DOGE is doing, that the OIG was designed to do. So far, DOGE's total estimated savings are $55 billion. What's missing from DOGE's list of agencies, and if you go to the website, he's got every agency that they've looked at it so far, is the Department of Defense. aka the Pentagon, which I have been raising hell about. In fact, we awarded the Jackass Award last fall to the Pentagon for losing $800 billion and flunking the last 7 Inspector General investigate inspections. The seven IG inspections. And my question is, when is DOGE going to the Pentagon? And I have a big concern, and all the media needs to stay on this. Why didn't DOGE go there first? That's where I'm telling you folks, I'm right. I worked for the government too many years, too many things. The Pentagon is where you're going to have more jaw-dropping. That's where the real fraud is happening. This is where most overclassification of documents, this is where the misappropriation, I'm talking illegal acts of funds, more than any other agency, is happening at the Pentagon. And not just one general needs to be fired over there. All of them. Anything with stars at the Pentagon needs to go. They need to go. All of them. If I was Trump, I'd say, give me the names of every general at the Pentagon. Have somebody competent to take their place and fire them all. You know, old saying, fire them all, let God sort them out. That's what I would do. Because the Pentagon is the Bermuda Triangle, or the black hole, or the bottomless pit of money sucking out of it, and it's going in people's pockets. There's no doubt in my mind there is more waste, there's more fraud, misappropriation of funds at the Pentagon than probably any other agency. And the FBI has shielded them and has not and kept the OIG from doing their job for years. And I just think that's bullcrap. Again, I just want to say it's a losing argument for the Democrats to stand against cutting waste in the government when we have a deficit that's coming up very quickly on it's not going to be long. We're going to be at $40 trillion in debt. So just remember that. Now, I want to cover something a little bit different. We've been covering reposting, and thank God the Kentucky state media has done a pretty good job of covering this. And part of that is because the citizens of London, Kentucky have been raising hell. Now, and I want to talk about this. It's the officer-involved shooting in London, Kentucky. This past Christmas, 2024, 2 days before Christmas, just before midnight, 63-year-old, and this kind of bothers me, maybe because I'm old too, and I'm the same age as this guy, and I just kind of picture me and my husband, or my husband being at home. 63-year-old Doug Harless was shot in his home after London, Kentucky police officers failed to verify correct addresses on a search warrant. This warrant was for a weed eater and allegedly a space heater. The officers that forced entry in an innocent man's home shot and killed him. It wasn't until 3 days later that the department came out with a report that the resident, 63-year-old Douglas Harless, pointed a gun at the officers. Okay, that's a red flag, folks. Among many other red flags I'm going to talk about. When they wait 3 days to say, oh, by the way, he had a gun. We had to kill him. Red flag. If the officers had simply waited until the next day, in the light of day, this fatal mistake may very well have been avoided. There was absolutely no reason for this police department to rush out in the dead of night and serve this warrant over a few $100s of merchandise. I mean, how much is a weed eater and a space heater? You know, I would dare say less than $1,000. Maybe I'm wrong, but still, what's somebody's life worth? And in my readings of the reports thus far, again, numerous red flags bounce up. Also, there's an allegation that this property either belonged to or was stored by the Laurel County Judge Executive David Westerfield when it was stolen. And the unnecessary rush may be a result of politics. That is very red flaggy and concerning. Now, let's get into proper protocol, what should have done. Proper protocol for verification of address for this warrant apparently was not done. Obviously, they went to the wrong address. At night, for a weed eater. Had they waited till the light of day, maybe they could have seen the big numbers on the side of the house and looked at their warrant and looked at the numbers, looked at the warrant, looked at the numbers on the mailbox in the house and said, this ain't the house. Okay? If you waited till the light of day. Okay. Also, what is proper protocol in law enforcement? And yes, I for the new people, yes, for 20 years I was in law enforcement as a special agent and also as a captain with U.S. Army Military Police Corps. Okay, and I've served many warrants. I've written them. I've served them. And, you know, I had excellent training, and that's just what concerns me about a lot of the local police departments and sheriff's departments and stuff, is they simply don't have the training and experience to actually do the job. And what's more disturbing is the supervisors should have the training experience. Somebody should have been monitoring this. Okay. How this should have went down. First off, there's lots of ways to verify an address. You drive out ahead of time. Wait till the next day. Drive out ahead of time in the light of day. See what vehicles are in the driveway. Run the plates. Property records. You know, everything's online nowadays. A stroke of a pen, a cop can research property. That's public information, by the way. They don't need a warrant for that. You know, deeds, property records, the PVA office. I can go over to the PVA office as a citizen and say, who's at this address. Certainly a cop can. You don't need a warrant for that. All of that should have been done. Should have been a reconnaissance of the place. Check water and sewage. The bills. You call the water company. Hey, who's at this address? Water company's they're gonna tell you over the phone, hi, this is Sheriff so-and-so, or this is Captain so-and-so from the PD. They all know who the captains are, and, call over there, or have your cops call over there. We need to know who's at this address. Well, it's this guy. Well, wait a minute. 63-year-old man? This is not the name we're given. This ain't the same address. Why are we here? Why are we at this address? Yeah, should have checked property records, should have checked, sewage, water, electric. Whose name is this at this address? Go out and sit for a few minutes. Watch who comes and goes. Some 63-year-old man comes walking out to get in his car. Obviously, you see he's not armed or anything. Just walk up to him. Hey, hi, I'm Officer so-and-so. We got a report that somebody here in this neighborhood is harboring a weed eater, and the guy could have said, well, yeah, you know what, this house right down here, I think that's where you want to go. I mean, there's so many things, proper protocol that law enforcement should have followed and obviously did not. Because if you followed any of that protocol, this man would still be alive. Also, when you do a warrant, you have to have the address on the warrant. You have to have, when I used to do warrants, I had to sit and go get a photograph of the place and do a draw. I had to go out and photograph the place and include that photograph with the warrant. That's what we were required to do. So the judge could see, yeah, the cops have done their due diligence. They went out and reconned it because, look, here, they got a photograph of it. And photograph the actual numbers on the house. And then check it to what your CI, your confidential source, because apparently a confidential source is telling them this is where the weed eater and stuff is. And then you'll see what he's telling you and what you got a picture of is two different things. I mean, this is not rocket science, folks. This is simple measures that professional police officers absolutely must do to make sure something like this doesn't happen. One of the things, when I first went on board, in the military, as a captain, well, I was a second lieutenant and then became, as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Military Police Corps, we had this crusty old, this guy had more medals and stuff. He was a Vietnam veteran. He was a master sergeant. This guy had been there, done that. one of the things he drilled into me is sometimes, he goes, sometimes, LT, one of the best things you can do is stop. Stop and think. Stop and think. You know, more mistakes like this are made, everybody rushing out because the county judge is, you know, weed eater potentially or whatever, if that's what happened. You know, running out in the, you know, at midnight, waking some poor old man up. You know, and when you're banging on the door, police, police, or whatever, that old man didn't know that, you know, you're police. If I'm a burglar and I want to get into a house, that's a good way to do it. Wait till midnight, go out, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I'm the police, open the door. To get somebody to open the door. You know? You just, for a weed eater and a space eater, this just blows my mind that this even happened when so many simple steps could have done to present this. And another thing too, you know, one of the things that I went through, one of the first academies I went through, the legal academies, is stop and ask yourself, am I here legally? If you're not there legally, you're at the wrong address, you haven't done your warrant right, you haven't done your homework, you need to stop and back up and think. And just, there was no rush to go into this house, this home at midnight that night. No rush. There's no reason to do that. It's not like it was a, you know, somebody in there got a hostage with a gun to their head, you know, and you got to get in there to save the hostage. There was nothing like that. No exigent circumstances whatsoever that I have seen in all the reporting existed for them to go to that house at midnight and do what they did and go to the wrong house. And here's the paramount question. Who was supervising this Charlie Foxtrot, you know? This FUBAR. For one of my military people out there, you know exactly what. It's a FUBAR. Who was in charge of this? I mean, it's not every day you're running out at midnight serving a warrant. And the video on this shows there's a bunch of officers there, too, for a weed eater and a heater. Where's the captain of this police department? I mean, anybody with half a brain would have said, whoa, time out. You're doing what? No. You know, come in there to the office. You know, supposedly it was like 7 o'clock at night. The CI's giving them the information, 7 o'clock at night. Okay, well, you know, if you can't get out of bed and come from your house and have a meeting with your team, you know, before a warrant, then go tend butterflies and raise sheep. Okay, you're in the wrong line of work. Whoever was in charge that day, that captain of that police department, or if he's on vacation or something, he should have left somebody competent in charge. He should time out. Let's gather up here. Let me see your warrant. What have you done to verify this address? You know, why are we doing this at night? You know, the danger level, anybody in law enforcement with any experience and training knows the danger level increases exponentially at night, especially late at night when you're doing a warrant. And you should never do a warrant late at night unless there's good reason, some kind of exigent circumstance. And there was none here. Where was the supervision for this? I'm just amazed that this went so sideways so quickly, and the lack of supervision and oversight, it is just unbelievable. Sorry, but the captain of that police department or whoever was in charge that night got to go. They got to be fired. I mean, you can't be this irresponsible and keep your job. You know, I'm sorry, but, you know, the city council or whoever is in charge of that police department, they should have already fired this guy. This guy should have been gone. Or at least put on administrative leave, something. Not just the guy who shot, but whoever was in charge of this warrant. And should have made sure that the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. Somebody needs to lose their job over this. Okay. Results. Okay. Now, here's what else happened after that. So, it gets, just when you think things get worse, oh yeah, they can. So, And this is where I get the dime out the FBI, famous but incompetent. Sorry, but you know, every time I've had a dealing or dealings with the FBI, it's been not good. Okay, so one of the news organizations over there, or it's a podcaster, they find out that perhaps the county judge executive influenced them to go out and rush to do this warrant because there was a phone call made to the 911 center, allegedly. Okay, the county judge executive in an interview says, I had nothing to do with this. It wasn't my weed eater. I wasn't even there. I was not even in town. So he's trying to distance himself from this, and rightfully so. I would too. Well, apparently someone from the 911 center leaks a phone call that sounds like that wasn't true, what he said. Okay, so the podcaster over there, goes and hits the 911 center with an open records request. Our forte. It's how we get a lot of our information, okay? He hits the 911 center. I want the audio recording or the what's called a CAD, a transcript or whatever of what's at the 911 center. The 911 center complies. They stick, I'm laughing to keep from crying. They stick the information into a FedEx package. They mail it. Okay? It gets mailed. Under 18 U.S.C., and I've posted this and argued this, and you can go back and look at the laws yourself. Under 18 U.S.C., once mail has entered the flow of mail, okay, it doesn't matter that it's, and FedEx, UPS, all mail carriers are considered mail carriers under 18 U.S.C. No, they have to follow the laws the same as your U.S. Postal Service, okay? So this enters the commerce of the mail. It goes to the post office for this kid, because he has a P.O. box. I say kid, he's a younger guy. Anybody younger than me is a kid. For this young man to pick up. He gets a call from the post office, from the FedEx building. The FedEx building in London, somebody calls and says, look, your package is here, but guess what? These cats from the 911 center are here. They're opening up your package. So someone dimes out what's going on. He gets down there. He gets in his car and goes there. Guess what? People from the 911 center are illegally, I'm sorry, this is the F word, felony, okay? Once that's mailed, they had no right to enter that package unless they had a federal search warrant. Federal search warrant, not state. Federal search warrant. What does the 911 center people do? I guess a manager and somebody else, they go to the FedEx place, illegally open up the package. He shows up. He starts filming them and taking pictures. He's got pictures, and he posted them of them opening his package without a warrant. And then FedEx allows this to happen. So, I and others instruct this young man, you need to get it to the U.S. Postal Inspectors. U.S. Postal Inspectors have total purview over the U.S. mail on those investigations. Somehow the FBI gets involved, famous but incompetent. And in less than 24 hours, the FBI has managed to do, hold on, almost done, thank God. In less than 24 hours, the FBI comes out and says, I'm so sorry. I'm surprised I lasted this long. Sorry, I've been fighting a bug for a while. The FBI comes out and says, officially, we've thoroughly investigated this, and there's no laws broken. Okay, and to that we are initiating tonight the Jackass Award to the FBI and to the 911 center idiots and the FedEx, especially the FBI. Again, the Jackass Award, because that's the most jackass, one of the most jackass things I've ever read. There's no way in under 24 hours that the FBI did a real investigation into that. They should have went out and interviewed both of those parties, people at the FedEx building. And when I say interviews, I mean tape-recorded interviews, videotaped interviews, brought them down to the station. There should have been a real investigation into this. because that boy's rights were violated, and 18 U.S.C., the F word, felony, that was a felony, what they did. For FedEx to give that package up to them and for them to go in there, and of course they're saying, oh, we just redacted stuff. You don't know that. You don't know what happened. You know, what did they remove from that package before that guy got there? We don't know. That's why you don't do stuff like that. You know, the FBI just poo-pooed it. In famous fashion, nothing to see here, move it along. This was an important investigation, and this is still an important investigation. The actual shooting is being investigated by KSP, Kentucky State Police. We'll see the results of this. We will stay on this because I think that this is an important investigation. You know, when this poor old guy, and the community of London, we've got some people from London watching tonight. Stay on it. Y'all did exactly the right thing. They organized. They had a protest. You know, keep showing up to the city council meetings. The city council needs to be doing something about this too. And just to stay on it. And make sure it stays in the media. You know, have another demonstration. Don't let it die. You know, this poor old guy, and the guy, pretty much everything I'm hearing about this guy that they shot, this guy was like a pillar of the community. Everybody loved him. You know, just one of the nicest guys. And, you know, I think this could be you guys out there. Michael, this could be you. This could be me. Somebody comes to my house at midnight. Man. Yeah, we're the police. I'm sorry. I don't know that you're the police. I'm sorry. Somebody comes to my door at midnight, you know, you're going to be answered that door with a gun. I'm going to have a gun. You know, don't come to my door, you know, and think you're not. So.
I have one within reach.
Yeah. I'm not answering the door if I had a gun, especially if I'm there by myself. So, and oh, by the way, to any robbers out there too, I have 4 very large dogs. One of them, a Caucasian Shepherd that's 175 pounds, that will eat you. So, and a majestic black German Shepherd that will eat you. So, don't bother coming to my property late at night. You won't get out of your car. So, anyways, I digress. Okay, we're out of time. Jackass Award. We're going to try to remember to give this to somebody. We gave it to the Pentagon last fall, rightfully so. We'll have more people to present this to, folks. We hope we've enlightened you. I know we've pissed off the Democrats and the Republicans tonight, which shows that we're objective. And we want to thank everybody for watching. We want to thank Steve Hall and the folks at MBR TV for keeping us on television, and everybody behind the scenes, Michael Mann, all of our tech gurus and everything. We will see you next time on Truth or Politics. Thanks.